Breaking news. At exactly 0241 UTC this morning, a coordinated alert was issued across 3 continents. Within seconds, observatories in Chile, Hawaii, and the Canary Islands all reported the same anomaly. An object we believed we understood, an interstellar visitor catalogued as 3I Atlas, executed a departure maneuver from Earth's vicinity that no existing model had predicted. Moments ago, tracking data confirmed that 3I Atlas accelerated beyond Earth's gravitational influence, its velocity climbing past 38 kilometers per second. By all definitions, it left. And yet, something did not. Today, the impossible just happened. Instruments designed to track mass, energy, and motion recorded a residual signature where nothing should remain. A faint, persistent anomaly, stationary, silent, and precisely located, was left behind in near-Earth space. This changes everything we thought we knew. If you want more verified cosmic updates as this story unfolds, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and stay with us, because what we're about to reveal is only the beginning. I want to be clear about what this moment represents. Extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, and that is why the response to this event was immediate, global, and unprecedented. Within minutes, data streams were cross-checked by NASA's Near-Earth Object Program, the European Space Agency's Space Situational Awareness Division, and independent teams at Harvard and Caltech. No one was prepared for what the numbers showed. Let me take you back. For months, 3I Atlas had been one of the most closely monitored interstellar objects ever recorded. Discovered on a hyperbolic trajectory, it entered the solar system with a velocity and orientation consistent with an extrasolar origin. Initial spectroscopic analysis suggested a non-standard composition, low volatiles, unusual reflectivity, and thermal behavior that did not match any known comet class. Still, within the margins of uncertainty, it remained explainable. NASA's Deep Space Network tracked it continuously using radar ranging from Goldstone in California and Madrid in Spain. The Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile measured faint emissions across sub-millimeter wavelengths. Hubble and later the James Webb Space Telescope conducted infrared surveys, mapping its thermal profile with exquisite precision. And every institution reached the same conclusion. 3I Atlas would perform a close pass by Earth and then exit the inner solar system entirely. That was the plan. 48 hours before the event, nothing appeared out of the ordinary. At 48 hours prior, 3I Atlas was 0.012 astronomical units from Earth, moving at a steady 31.6 kilometers per second. Its brightness curve was stable. No outgassing was detected. Surface temperature hovered around 312 Kelvin on the sun-facing side, warm but not active. 36 hours before departure, subtle anomalies began to emerge. Gravitational models from Caltech showed a discrepancy. The object's trajectory deviated by 0.0007 degrees from predicted values. Small, yes, but statistically significant. At the same time, ESA's Doppler measurements recorded a fluctuation in velocity, a brief acceleration spike of 0.4 meters per second squared, lasting less than 8 seconds. No natural process could explain such a controlled change without visible thrust or mass ejection. 24 hours before the event, the first spectral shift was observed. Atacama detected a narrow-band emission in the 22.3 GHz range, well within the microwave spectrum. It appeared for 1.9 seconds, vanished, then repeated exactly 97 seconds later. Prime number intervals. At the time, scientists hesitated to overinterpret. Instrument noise, perhaps, cosmic interference. Yet when the same pulse was independently detected by a radio telescope in Western Australia, doubts began to surface.
11 hours before departure, The shape of 3I Atlas changed. I remember staring at the data feed when the alert came in. The object's light curve flattened, not gradually, instantly. Its reflective profile shifted from irregular to symmetrical, as if its surface geometry had reconfigured itself. No debris, no fragmentation, just change. Thermal imaging from JWST showed a rapid redistribution of heat across its surface, equalizing within seconds. That alone defies known physics. Natural bodies do not conduct heat that efficiently in vacuum without internal mechanisms. 6 hours before the event, Earth-based magnetometers began recording anomalies, fluctuations measured in nanotesla, small but synchronized across stations in Scandinavia, Japan, and Canada. The disturbances aligned precisely with 3I Atlas's projected path. Then came the moment no one expected. At 0241 UTC, 3I Atlas accelerated, not explosively, not chaotically, precisely. Its velocity increased from 33 kilometers per second to 38 kilometers per second in under 90 seconds. No visible exhaust, no mass loss plume, no thermal spike consistent with propulsion, yet the numbers were undeniable. Within minutes, orbital calculations confirmed escape velocity. By all conventional definitions, the object left Earth behind. But the instruments did not go quiet. At 0244 UTC, 3 minutes after departure, ESA's tracking radar detected a stationary return signal at a distance of approximately 4,200 kilometers above Earth's surface. It was faint, barely above background noise, but stable. A residual mass, estimated at roughly 12,000 kilograms. That number alone should not exist. Prior mass estimates for 3I Atlas exceeded 1 billion kilograms. To lose nearly all of that mass without an explosion, without debris, without energy dispersion, violates conservation principles we rely on to understand the universe. And yet, something stayed behind. Over the next 2 hours, every attempt was made to eliminate error. Satellites were recalibrated. Atmospheric interference was ruled out. Reflections from space debris were excluded. The signal remained, motionless, silent, persistent. Spectroscopic analysis revealed no known material signature. No iron, no ice, no silicates. It absorbed light almost perfectly, yet reflected just enough to be detected. At this point, the scientific community split. One hypothesis argued for an exotic natural explanation. Perhaps 3I Atlas was a loosely bound aggregate of material, an interstellar fractal structure that shed its mass through non-luminous particle dispersion. Some proposed interactions with dark matter fields or unknown plasma effects near Earth's magnetosphere. But another hypothesis began circulating quietly in internal channels. What if the mass loss was intentional? Simulations run at Harvard's Center for Astrophysics explored a disturbing possibility that the object was not ejecting mass randomly, but discarding it selectively, leaving behind a compact remnant positioned with extreme precision relative to Earth. Gravitational modeling showed that the residual object occupied a dynamically stable pocket resistant to decay. It wasn't falling, it wasn't orbiting conventionally, it was parked. Then the pulses began. At 0517 UTC, radio observatories detected a new emission, short bursts, each lasting exactly 0.73 seconds. The interval between them followed a sequence, 2, 3, 5, 7. Prime numbers again. This was no longer random, it was responding. NASA issued an internal advisory, communications were encrypted, public statements were delayed, not out of panic, but caution. When data challenges foundational assumptions, silence often precedes understanding. Meanwhile, subtle effects began appearing on Earth.
Low Earth orbit satellites reported brief signal dropouts, not failures, interruptions. Aircraft over the North Atlantic experienced minor compass deviations. Migratory birds altered their flight paths days earlier than expected, veering eastward in unison. None of these events were catastrophic. All were deniable in isolation. Together, they formed a pattern. Control rooms around the world stayed lit through the night. I spoke with a researcher who described the atmosphere as quietly stunned. No shouting, no alarms, just people realizing they were witnessing something fundamentally new. And then, just before dawn, the residual object did something unexpected. It aligned. Without moving closer or farther, its orientation shifted, precisely toward Earth's rotational axis. Magnetometers spiked briefly, then stabilized. The pulses stopped. Silence returned. Maybe we're not witnessing the end, but an invitation. Throughout history, humanity has looked to the skies and wondered if we're alone. Most of the time, the universe answers with indifference. Vast distances, random motion, chaos without intent. But this feels different. If 3I Atlas were merely a rock, it should have behaved like one. If it was a comet, it should have outgassed. If it was debris, it should have scattered. Instead, it arrived with purpose, changed with control, left deliberately, and left behind something. What that something is, we do not yet know. A probe? A fragment? A remnant of a process we do not understand? Or a signal, not in radio waves, but in presence? As of now, the object remains where it is, dormant, observed continuously. No further emissions detected, no movement recorded. But the story is far from over. Because if something can cross interstellar space, shed its mass with surgical precision, and leave behind a silent sentinel near Earth, then it may not be finished. The universe has a way of reminding us that our understanding is provisional. So the question now is not whether 3I Atlas left, it's why it chose to leave something behind. And perhaps more unsettling, what happens when it activates again? Subscribe to follow the next update. The story isn't over.